Okay, we'll get started in about a minute. Getting started in about a minute. Good morning, Eleanor, Carson, Nelius, David, Danny. Okay, we shall get going here. All right, the day has finally arrived. One of the most important things that we do in 7th grade is we learn how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide with negative numbers. Today we get to learn how to add with them. All right, any questions on the homework over the 3-day weekend? Hopefully you guys didn't shovel too much snow. All right, I hope you guys turn that in on Microsoft or on Teams. I will put in the grade book today. Here's our calendar. We're going to spend 3 whole days on just adding integers. Why 3 days? So it turns out that students break down into 3 basic groups. You got the group of kids that figure this out literally in the first lesson. You got another group of kids that will figure it out probably by the end of the chapter. And you have a third group of kids that figure this out sometime next year in 8th grade. So what I try to do is try to eliminate as many kids in that third group as possible. And so what I found to be very effective is to do this for 3 days. We're going to do 3 days on just adding numbers together. We'll do 3 days of just subtracting numbers together. And then we will do not 3 days, but we'll do 2 days of multiplying and dividing. Multiplying and dividing ends up being the easier of the rules. The issue with what we're about to deal with, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing negative numbers, is it's all new rules. The rules that you had for adding numbers, subtracting numbers, multiplying, dividing, we got new ones because we're dealing with negative numbers. The key to doing well at this, and oh, by the way, from now until, I don't know, college or high school, whatever your last math course is, you will be dealing with positive and negative numbers every single day in math class. So your ability to quickly and fluently means you don't think about it, right? If I ask you what's 2 plus 5 and nobody thinks about it, you simply write the answer. You'll do the same thing with negative numbers as well too. Negative 2 plus 5, you'll be able to tell me the answer if you pay attention and you get what I'm saying as fluently as you can with positive numbers, but it does take practice. Don't be shocked if some of you, it takes a long time. One of the key here is that I'm going to give you some rules and some steps is to have that in front of your face until you have these things memorized. So you get 2 numbers, you figure out if you're adding or subtracting, you look at the rules, it tells you what to do, follow those rules. Like I said, some kids pick this up very quickly, other kids, it lasts until 8th grade. And even in 8th grade, you'll still have 1 or 2 kids that have to have these rules in front of your face. That's no big deal. If it's in front of your face and you get the right answer, you're just as good as for the people that memorize it on day 1. All right, so it's another worksheet. It's already online right now. We'll talk about it briefly at the end of class. Here we go. Adding integers. So all we're going to do today is simply add 2 numbers. It won't be 3 or 4 numbers. It'll just be 2 numbers, add them together. A quick note, as I said before, we're going to do adding for 3 days. I would hope that 90% of you are very confident after tomorrow. And I would hope that 99% of you are confident after the 3rd day. But as I stated before, some students still struggle mightily with this. Make sure that you have the rules in front of your face starting tomorrow. I'll point out tomorrow. That's how I'll start the class on the rules. All right. Like I said, I'll still have some kids that go into 8th grade that are still a little weak on adding numbers together. And what I mean by that are positive and negative numbers. So if you're one of those students, I don't want you to panic because some kids, it takes until 8th grade to get a full grasp of this. But what I want you to make sure is that after today, in front of your face, you have the rules for adding. So the entire chapter is just add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Today, tomorrow, and Thursday, we do add. So here we go. We will, in fact, be adding integers today. So remember from the previous class, an integer is a combination of the natural numbers. Those are the counting numbers, the caveman numbers, 1, 2, 3, numbers that go up by 1. The opposite of those. So the opposite of 1 is -1. The opposite of 2 is -2. So integers are a combination of natural numbers, their opposites, and 0. Put all of those numbers together, and those are the integers. Those are the numbers today that we will be adding. In fact, for the next 3 days, adding. The entire chapter, there's no decimals, there's no fractions, there's only integers. All right, so adding integers. I choose, some teachers do it differently. I choose to teach adding integers by going back to kindergarten, first grade, when you were first taught how to add numbers. And many teachers, maybe not all, but many teachers use something when they initially teach adding to students, something called the coin methods. For students to wrap their head around, I don't know, a simple problem like, 2 plus 3, they give them coins that represent the numbers 2 and 3. Okay, so here are the coins that we will use. We will use the coin for a +1. Notice it says positive, right? By the way, when you try to find the signs of numbers, you always look to the left. Always look to the left. So we're going to represent the number +1 by a yellow coin. It's circular, right? We will represent this number right here with this symbol right here, a coin with a plus on it. Okay, we will represent a -1, right? Why is it negative? Well, look immediately to the left. The sign of a number is always to the left. The sign of the number is always to the left. Most of the time, if a number is positive, we choose to leave off the plus. It's still positive, by the way, but negative numbers will always have a negative to their left. We will choose to represent -1 by a negative coin, right? So 1 coin for 1 coin for another. Yellow one for positive, blue for negative. Since it's a +1, there's 1 coin. Since it's a -1, there's 1 coin. Therefore, if I were to represent the number +2 or +2, I would need not 1, but I would need 2 yellow coins. If I were to represent a -2 or a -2, I would need 2 negative coins. So that's how we're going to represent numbers. Let's see how your kindergarten, first grade teacher probably taught you how to add these numbers together. 3 plus 2 back in kindergarten, right? So your teacher, for some of you, may have given you coins. And they said, okay, a 3 will be now represented by 3, 1, 2, 3 positive coins. Now, you didn't know about negative numbers there, so they didn't do negative. They told you to that, they wanted you to, that symbol means add, so plus, they wanted you to add 2. In other words, 2 more positive coins. The act of addition is the act of grouping. In fact, what adding does is it simply gets rid of the symbol and pushes the coins together. That's the act of adding. You take one group and you add it to another group, you push the coins together and you count the coins, right? Let's count those coins. Now remember, 1 coin was represented by the number 1. So 1 yellow coin means 1. So simply count the coins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 coins. So 3 plus 2 is equal to 5. Okay, now you've graduated kindergarten, you're in first grade. Okay, so that is the method of adding. It's called the coin method, and it simply uses coin as physical manipulatives that allow you to add 2 numbers together. All right, now you're back in 7th grade. We're going to do it with negative numbers. Hey, we're still adding here. Why are we still adding? Well, what's that symbol right there? Plus, that means add. That means group things together. The difference here is that we are adding negative numbers. How do I know the numbers are negative? Well, look immediately to the right of each number. Immediately to the right, it's a minus sign. If the thing immediately to the right is a positive, well, then you're adding positive numbers. If the thing immediately to the, I said right, I meant left. Immediately to the left is negative, then you're adding negative numbers. So I'm adding 2 negative numbers together. I'm adding, why? Because of that plus symbol. Well, let's use the coin method. So the coin method, right, I'll get rid of that. The coin method says take the first number. The first number is -7. Represent it with coins and add it to a second number. Represent that second number with coins. So I'm going to take -7. That means I need 7 negative coins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. To that, I'm going to add 4 negative coins. See what I did there? Addition is the act of grouping together. So I take the coins and I push them together and I count. Well, let's count. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have 11 coins here, but the answer isn't 11 because those coins are not positive. Those coins are negative. So the answer to -7 plus -4 is -11. I get -11 coins. So -7 plus -4, -11. That's called the coin method of adding, and it will work for both positive and for negative numbers. No big deal. All right. The but here is that, go ahead.
Why are there parentheses around the negative numbers?
Yeah, good question. So visually, we run into a problem, right? So if I write -7 plus -4, sometimes it can be confusing because there's two symbols next to each other. So in order to alleviate that confusion, we put, if there are two signs next to each other, it's not a requirement, but many times we will put it in parentheses. You'll see it tonight on the worksheet.
Okay.
You can ignore the parentheses. It's just there for a visual clarification. Okay?
Yep.
Okay, so the big deal here, or the but here, is the fact that, well, we're not just adding negative or adding positive, we're adding a combination of positive and negatives. So check it out. For the sign of a number, we look to the left and there's nothing there next to 3. Well, if there's nothing there, that makes it positive, right? This one has a negative next to it, so therefore it is a negative. I'm adding a +3 and a -4. Okay, well, how do I know I'm adding? Well, look, the symbol says add. So I'm adding a +3 and a -4. Okay, so let's see. Using the coin method, well, I'm going to represent +3 with 3 positive coins. Suspiciously, I'm going to skip the putting a plus because I know that addition is grouping. So I know the very next step is to squeeze the coins together. So I'm just going to skip that step of squeezing the coins together and just immediately write them next to each other. So the second number here is -4. So I represent it with a negative. Notice all I did was skip the step where I put a plus in between them, right? Because I know the very next step, I'm going to squeeze them together. Okay, so let's see what we got here. I got a group of positive coins next to a group of negative coins, and I'm supposed to count them. But here's the neat thing. Before I count them, well, let's go back to what +1 meant. +1 meant literally one yellow coin. Well, -1 meant one negative coin. Well, look, next to each other right here, I got a positive and a negative. And that literally means, well, let's see, if I take what it means a 1, and this means a -1. Well, that means literally 1 minus 1. What's 1 minus 1? Somebody?
0?
Yeah, it means 0. It's poof, it goes away. 1 minus 1 is 0. There's no number there. Well, right below it, there's another 1 minus 1. That's 0. Right below it, there's another 1 minus 1 is 0. Simply because of the way I arrange the coins, it's 1 minus 1, 1 minus 1, 1 minus 1. So after all of these turn into 0, I'm only left with one coin and it's negative. So guess what 3 plus -4 is?
1.
But it's a negative coin here. So therefore it's -1. So this coin method allowed us to, I don't know, wrap our heads around what's actually going on here. All right, let's do one together. Write this down on a piece of paper for me. 2 plus -4. 2 plus -4, and we'll use the coin method to find the answer. 2 plus -4. All right, so to do 2 plus -4 with the coin method, well, the first number is 2, and it's positive. How do I know it's positive? Because there's nothing there. So that makes it positive. The second number is negative. I know it's negative because there's a negative right there. So the first number, I need 2 positive coins. The second number, well, it's negative, so I need 4 negative coins. This is called the coin method. From the previous slide, we learned that +1 right there means 1, and this minus means -1. 1 minus 1 is 0. So in other words, that turns into 0. And that turns into 0. And then you simply count how many coins you have left. How many coins do I have left?
2.
And are they positive or negative?
Negatives.
So therefore, the answer to 2 plus -4 is -2. Okay, that's called the coin method.
What if
Go ahead.
the question is like -6 plus 6?
Okay, we'll do that. All right, let's do this one first. Okay, coin method. -6 plus -2. All right, let's see. -6 plus -2. Well, the first number is negative. I can see it's negative. Why? Because the symbol right next to it is negative. The second number is also negative. Why? Because it's negative. So I need -6 coins, grouping that with another 2 negative coins. And now notice I have nothing but negative coins. I don't have any 1 minus 0, 1 minus 1 to turn into 0. They're just all negative. So we simply count how many coins here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 negative coins. Therefore, the answer is -8. All right. The other question was, what would be -6 plus 6? Well, let's see. That 6 is negative and that 6 is positive, yes? So I need 6 negative coins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Must be 0.
You're jumping to conclusions. Let's see if it's true. And then we would have what? 6 positive coins. Oh, this takes forever. And we said that 1 minus 1 is 0, so that cancels, 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 cancels. So Danny, how many coins am I left with?
None.
There you go. There's your answer. Stop doing your homework. Pay attention to class. I know that's one of the homework ones. All right. You got 4 problems. Use the coin method. I'll give you a 30-second head start, and then I will work through these myself. So give yourself a little bit of room. You're going to need some room to draw some coins. You can draw your coins. Some kids won't draw coins. What they'll just do is put a plus and a minus. So I'll show you for the first one. They'll put, I need 5 positives, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I need 3 negatives. Cancel, cancel, cancel. We're left with 2 positives, so the answer is 2. Now, do you have to put a plus 2? You can, but you will quickly get into the habit of not putting a plus. You'll just write 2. Questions? All right, do the other 3, please. All right, there's your 30 seconds. Let's see. I need 3 negative, 1, 2, 3, and I need 4 negative coins. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nothing cancels. Cancel means that you have a combination of plus and a minus. I have nothing but negatives here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 negative coins. So that's going to equal -7. Top right. Let's see. I got 3 positive. 1, 2, 3. I got 6 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see what cancels here. That cancels, that cancels, that cancels. And we're left with 3 negatives, so -3. The last one, let's see. We have 2 negatives and then 5 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's nothing but negatives. We count them up. It looks like we have what, 7? So we are wound up with 7 negative coins, and there you go. Boom. You just did adding using coins, and you did it for both positive and negative numbers. We didn't even talk about any rules. We just simply did the math. Here's it, nice and pretty. There are your answers. Any questions? We got a problem, right? And the problem is what with the coin method, somebody?
Sometimes.
It's a little too slow.
Boy, is it slow. Go ahead, Caitlin.
I forgot what I was going to say.
You want to try this problem with coins?
Sure.
Nope.
Good luck. You got to draw 4,154 negative coins, and then you need to draw another 723 negative coins. The coin method works, and it works every single time, and it's really simple, but boy, does it not work very well with negative coins? Carson said it would take too long, right? And it would. This would take 30 minutes to do this, simply, maybe even longer. So the coin method doesn't work well with larger numbers. So we, the rest of the class, the rest of the next 3 days, we are going to come up with the rules. So a lot of time in math, rules come from just noticing patterns. Okay, there are two problems. Both of those involve, we're adding two numbers. Sometimes we're adding negative numbers, sometimes we're adding positive numbers. Does anyone notice a pattern of what's going on there with the numbers?
Basically, we can add them together
It looks
we'll keep the same answer, but there's going to be a negative symbol before
it
one.
looks like all we're really doing is just simply adding the numbers together. Carson is correct. Okay. Here's where we're adding signs that are different from each other, a positive and a negative. Look at the answers and tell me if you notice, what does it look like we're doing with the numbers?
We're just adding?
5
it looks like we're subtracting.
8, not 2.
Looks like we're subtracting.
It certainly looks like we're subtracting. That is the pattern, and those are the rules. And the rules are, for the top one that says adding, all right, you ready for your mind to like blow, right? This is a little bit hard to wrap your head around. Both sets of problems, both the top two and the bottom two, involve adding. Why am I saying adding? Well, look what's right here. There's a plus, there's a plus, there's a plus, there's a plus. Both of these, all 4 of them, involve adding. But the top two literally mean when the signs are the same, negative and a negative, positive and a positive, when the signs are the same, you add the 2 numbers. For the bottom one, well, sometimes the signs are negative and sometimes the signs are positive. When the signs are different is when you subtract, but here's the kicker. Each and every time the problem is what I circled in blue, the problem is adding. However, depending upon whether the signs are the same or the signs are different, tells us whether we literally add or we subtract. That is the hardest thing for 7th graders to wrap their head around, is that, yeah, we're adding, but sometimes we're subtracting to add. Do you see the problem there? I mean, words just kind of trip over themselves. Sometimes to add, you subtract. Sometimes to add, you add. Sometimes to add, you subtract. It's the hardest thing for 7th graders to wrap their heads around, is that sometimes you're going to subtract and sometimes that you will add, even though technically for all 4 problems, we are doing addition. So we need to write that down so we are less confused. So there are 2 rules, and the 2 rules are for same signs. That means when both numbers are positive or both numbers are negative. 4 plus 2, both numbers are positive. -4 plus -2, both numbers are negative. That's called the same sign. Same sign. Why is it same sign? Is because the signs are the same, either both positive or both negative. The second rule is called the different sign rule. The different sign rule means that the first number is positive, the second number is negative, or vice versa. Notice that's a +4 plus a -2, or a -4 plus a +2. So the second one involves where the signs are different. We're going to have 2 rules. We're going to have a rule for same signs. We're going to have a rule for different signs. Can you kind of wrap your head around that? I haven't told you what the rule is, but can you wrap your head around that sometimes the signs are the same and sometimes the signs are different?
Yeah.
Okay. So now for the rest of the class, we're just going to write the rules and we're going to do the math. All right. So get ready to write this down. So I want you to write down everything that's on this slide. So I'll explain it here after I have everything here. This is going to be messy. So here's what it says. It says this is the rule for same signs. That either means, look at my 2 examples here, both numbers are positive, the one on the left, or both numbers are negative. So here's what the rule says. The rule says if there were steps, step number 1 says to add the absolute value of each integer. Now here's where I don't want you to panic. Do you see what I'm circling? Do you see the absolute value symbols? This is what you do in your head. You don't write this down. You do this in your head. You take the absolute value of each number. The absolute value of 7 is 7. The absolute value of 4 is 4. We add 7 plus 4, we get 11. And I believe Carson said it earlier. He said, to know whether the answer is positive or negative, we go back to the original problem and we ask ourselves, were we originally adding positives or were we adding negatives? If both signs originally were positive, the answer is positive. If both signs originally were negative, remember we go back to the original number, then the answer is negative. I'll do the second one a bit clearer. Step number one, it says take the absolute value of each number. The absolute value of -7 is 7. The absolute value of -4 is 4. Now, I said that this step right here, you do in your head. I will write it for, I don't know, a couple slides, and then I will stop doing it. You're taking the absolute value in your head. It's an easy thing to do. Then we add the two numbers together. 7 plus 4 is 11. But the final answer of whether it's positive or negative, we go back to the original signs, and the original signs were negative. In other words, when I add negatives, I get negatives. All right. I ask you guys to write down this entire slide. This entire slide has all of the rules and 2 examples. Are we okay to move on, or is everyone still writing?
It's just a little confusing.
Boy, is it ever. Like I said, I will have kids get to 8th grade and they will still struggle with this. Having this in front of your face, basically what's here in yellow, add the absolute value signs, is what will keep you. Now, we will make a really, really nice, and by the way, this is just the rules. This is half of the rules for adding. We still have the other half when the signs are different. And then we have to do subtraction, and then we have to do multiplication. We got to do division. So we'll have a really good resource card. So I don't want you to panic, right? We got plenty of practice days. Am I okay to move on? Okay, so let's see how this works. So I'm going to try to explain this to you as slowly and carefully as I can. Notice we are adding. How do I know we're adding? Well, there's a plus sign right there. That means add. So now we got to ask ourselves, am I adding same or different signs? Do you see what I'm circling? Are those the same or are those different? I'm not looking at 12 and 31. I'm looking at the 2 minus signs. Well, those are the same. So the rule for same sign is we take the absolute value of each number. So what we do, and we're doing this in our head, is we take the absolute value of -12 and -31. Well, the absolute value of -12 is, somebody?
12?
And the absolute value of -31 is?
31.
Okay. So this step, right? This step of taking the absolute value is done in what I'm circling. You do that in your head. The rest of it you actually do. 12 plus 31 is 43. And then we ask ourselves, now we're on the last step. The last step says, go back to the original problem. Were we adding positives or were we adding negatives?
Positives?
Because it says positive 31, yes?
Yeah.
Where does it say that on the original problem? Do you see the original problem in blue?
Yeah.
Did it say a positive 31 or a negative 31?
Negative 31.
So originally we were adding negatives. That's why the answer is -43, not positive 43. If we were adding 2 positive numbers, then the answer would be positive 43. But it says use the original sign. So the original signs were negative. Therefore, the answer is negative. All right. This will get better the more we do. The more we do. All right. I'll try to do it exactly the same way again. Step number 1, you identify your adding. Why am I asking that? Because, hey, on Friday, I'm going to teach you subtraction. On Friday, this sign right here will be subtract. Boy, that's a lot of negatives running around, but I'll teach you that on Friday. We are adding. Why? Because it says add right there. We are adding 2 negatives. That means they are the same. If this was a plus, then that would be different, but it's not, right? It's two negatives. The rule says to take the absolute value of both numbers. Well, the absolute value of -7 is 7. The absolute value of -12 is 12. Are we okay up to there?
Sure.
Okay, 7 plus 12 is?
19.
And now we go back, last step, we go back to the original problem in blue. Were we adding positives or were we adding negatives?
In the blue, we're adding negatives.
That's why the answer is -19. If in the blue they were both positive, then the answer would be +19. That is the rule for same signs. Questions? All right. Let's try one together. Write this one down. -5 plus -4. -5 plus -4. And I'm going to try to do this exactly the same way on every problem I do to walk you through it. Hey, we're adding. Why are we adding? Because of that plus right there. Are we adding same or different signs? We are adding same signs. They're both negative. Step number 1, this is the part that you do in your head. We take the absolute value of both numbers. You're going to do this so many times, you won't even give it a second thought. The absolute value of -5 is 5. The absolute value of -4 is 4. So that's 5 plus 4. 5 plus 4 is 9. Final answer, we go back to the original problem. And we ask ourselves, was I adding positives or negative numbers together? Somebody?
Negative.
That's why the answer is -9. Okay, questions? All right. Now, obviously, we all know the answer is 3, right? No big deal here, but let's see if the rule still works. Let's see if we still get 3. So let's see, I look to the left. Well, there's nothing here. When there's nothing here, that means it's positive. Well, this one's positive. So I'm adding 2 positive numbers together. Those are the same signs. So technically, we're supposed to take the absolute value of 2 and add that to the absolute value of 1. The absolute value of 2 is 2. The absolute value of 1 is 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. We go back to the original problem. Were the numbers originally positive or negative?
Positive.
And that's why we got 3 as an answer, which we already knew was the answer because we didn't need to do this to do 2 plus 1. But I'm just showing you that it works even on the ones that we already know how to do. So it would have to work. Otherwise, it would be just a made-up rule. All right. So if you're feeling very uncomfortable right now, it's okay, right? If you're completely, totally lost, that's probably not okay. You should be paying attention, at least following the patterns. Remember, you have the rules that are written on each one. So although this is in green, for those that can work ahead, I'm going to go through each one of these with everybody. Okay, here we go. Upper left first. All right, upper left, we look at the signs. Well, actually, step 1 is we determine if we're adding or subtracting. Hey, we're adding. Why? Because there's a plus there. If there had been a minus sign here, we would be subtracting. Okay, but there's not. All right, we're adding. Now we got to figure out if it's same or different signs. Well, these 2 signs are exactly the same, so it's same signs. The rule for same signs says take the absolute value of both. Remember what I said that we were going to start doing absolute value in our head? Well, let's do it in our head. Danny, the absolute value of -7 is?
7.
Absolute value of -18?
18.
See how easy that was?
Yeah.
All right, 7 plus 18. Okay, that might be challenging, but 7 plus 18 is 25. And now we go back to the original problem when we say, were we adding positives or negatives?
Negatives.
Negatives.
Therefore, the answer is -25. Bottom one. I mean, if you know what you're doing, you don't have to follow these rules if it's a simple one, but the rules still must work. Notice both signs are positive. Why? There's nothing there, so it's positive, but there's a positive right there. So I'm adding 2 positives. The absolute value of both would be 24 and 16.
It's 40.
It's 40. And were the signs originally positive or negative?
Positive.
So therefore the answer is positive 40.
Positive.
There you go. Upper right, let's see, we are adding two negatives. Those signs are the same. Take the absolute value of both, and most people immediately say, oh, I see, absolute value strips all the signs and makes everything positive. That is correct. So that would be 2 plus 6. 2 plus 6 is?
8.
Original signs were positive or negative?
Negative.
Negative.
Well, the answer is negative 8. Last one, let's see, we're adding two negatives. To add two negatives, we take the absolute value of both. That just means strip the signs away, make them both positive. Remember, absolute value actually asked, how far are you away from 0? I am 10 away from 0 if I'm at negative 10. I am 5 away from 0 at negative 5. 10 plus 5 is 15. Were the signs originally positive or negative?
Negative.
Negative 15. There you go. There is one of a whole bunch of rules. And if we were to stop right here, boy, 7th graders would have no problems. The issue is not this rule. This isn't the easy rule. The issue is we're going to have another rule for different signs. We're going to have 2 more rules for subtraction, and we're going to have 2 more rules, excuse me, for multiplication and division. And that's a lot of rules. And oh, by the way, these rules are different than normal adding and subtracting and multiplying and dividing too. All right. So that's same signs. Let's look at different signs. The thing that we're missing here, right, is different signs. So let's go back to when we identified that pattern. The bottom 2 are your different signs. One's positive and one's negative. And you guys said, well, it looks like what we're doing is subtracting. And that's true. Okay. So once again, I'll show you all the steps here, and then we'll write it down in yellow. The box there in yellow are the steps that you need to follow. So let's see what it says. It says, as soon as you decide that you are adding different signs, that means one's positive, one's negative. You see my 2 examples here. 7 is positive, 4 is negative. On the one on the right, 7 is negative, 4 is positive. As soon as you decide that you're dealing with different signs, then it's 3 rules. Step number 1, same rule as the previous one. You're going to take the absolute value of both numbers. The absolute value of 7 is 7. The absolute value of negative 4 is 4. But this time we're not going to add, we're going to subtract. Now the only issue here is how do you subtract? And it says do the big number minus the small number. So let's see, 7 is big, 4 is small. So I do 7 minus 4. 7 minus 4 is 3. To figure out, and everyone's got to pay attention, to figure out whether the answer is positive or negative, we go back. I'll do this in blue. We go back to the original problem. Remember the coins? If these were coins, would we have more positive coins or would we have more negative coins?
Positive.
Right, you'd have 7 positive coins and 4 negative, and that's why this answer is positive, but this answer is negative because we had 7 negative coins and 4 positive coins for my second example. Okay, so really there's 2 big differences between this one for different signs. When the signs are the same, you add the 2 numbers. When the signs are different, you subtract the 2 numbers, big number minus small number, and then we have one extra step at the end. You have to ask yourself, think about the coins. Did you start with more positive coins or more negative coins? Did you start with more positive coins or more negative coins? And the one on the left, we started with 7 positive, 4 negative, so the answer is positive. On the one on the right, we started with 7 negative coins, 4 positive coins. If your head's spinning right now, that's okay. Just like the previous one, by the time we got through, you were pretty good at it. We'll do plenty of examples here, and then we'll mix all the things together at the end of the class just to make sure that everyone's okay with adding. All right, I'm going to erase the mess that I made right here and allow you to copy this down. Do you remember when I taught you how to do algebra? I always say Where's the variable left or right side? What's attached to it? How's attached? Do the inverse. Do it to both sides. It's the same thing here. We're going to have rules. You're going to hear me say same or different signs. Does that mean add or subtract? More positives, more negative. You're going to hear me say that just like I did with algebra problems. It takes a while for kids to memorize all, and these are just 2 rules. We got plenty more to go. All right, we okay? All right, so let's look at how different signs work. All right, same thing as I did with same signs. I'll walk you through the steps. Step number 1, we look to see if we have same or different signs. Notice that here 1 is positive and 1 is negative. You're like, well, where did that plus come from? Remember, if there's no sign, it's automatically positive. We always look to the left to find the sign. So 1's positive, 1's negative. Those are different signs. The rule for different signs says take the absolute value of both. Absolute value of 7 is not -7. The absolute value of 7 is 7. The absolute value of -18 is 18. So I got 2 numbers, 7 and 18. Notice 1 is big and 1 is small. 1 is big, 1 is small. So when we do the subtraction, it says do big number minus small number. So let's see, that would be 18 minus 7. 18 minus 7 is 11. And then we have one last step. The last step says go back to the original 2 numbers, +7, -18, and we're thinking coins here. Do we have more negative coins or more positive coins? More negative coins or more positive coins?
Negative.
That's why the answer is negative. Okay, here's another one. Step number 1, see if you have same or different signs. I got a negative and I got a positive. Those are different signs. So we're going to follow this rule. It says take the absolute value of both. The absolute value of -11 is 11. The absolute value of 6 is 6. It says subtract big number minus small number. Well, 11 is big, 6 is small. So 11 minus 6 is 5. The last step says go back to the original problem. That's in blue. Do we have more negative coins or did we have more positive coins?
Negative.
And that's why the answer is -5. Questions on what I did? All right, write this one down on a piece of paper. Let's do this one. 20 plus -6. 20 plus -6. 20 plus -6. Step number 1, we see if we have same or different signs. Hey, there's a plus here and there's a minus here. Those are different signs. One's positive, one's negative. Okay. So we are on the different sign rule, not the same sign. So it says take the absolute value of both. Once again, no one actually writes this. They just simply write the answer. So the absolute value of 20 is 20. The absolute value of -6 is 6. We always will wind up with a big number or a small number, unless both numbers are the same. Danny's question before. When both numbers are the same, then you're going to get a 0, right? Okay, 20 and 6, that would be 20 minus 6. 20 minus 6 is 14. Last question, do we have more positive coins or did we have more negative coins? Which one did we have more of?
More positive.
And that's why the answer is 14. The previous ones, the answer were negative because we had more negative ones. Those are the rules for different signs. Questions? Okay, practice makes perfect. Well, let's do some practice here. If you know what you're doing, go ahead and get to the answers. I will walk everyone else through this. All right. We know we're adding. Why? Because there's addition symbol. But I look at the 2 symbols and one's positive and one's negative. Well, that means that we have different signs. The rule for different sign is take the absolute value of both numbers. The absolute value of -12 is 12. The absolute value of 18 is 18. Notice I left off the absolute value. Now, these are literally what I would do. I wouldn't do what I circled in blue, but I would write 12 and 18. We need to do big minus small, so that would be 18 minus 12. 18 minus 12 is 6. We go back to the original problem. original problem, I'm seeing if I have more negatives or do I have more positive? Which one do I have more of? More positives. Positive, I got 18 positive coins and 12 negative coins. Therefore, the answer is positive 6. All right. Next one, bottom left. Let's see. The first one is positive. The second one is negative. Those are different signs. So I'm following the different sign rules. The different sign rule says take the absolute value of both numbers. Absolute value of 8 is 8. Absolute value of negative 6 is 6. Different sign rule doesn't say add the numbers. It says subtract the numbers, big minus small. 8 minus 6 is 2. We go back to the original problem, and we say more positives or more negatives.
More positives.
That's why the answer is positive 2. Upper right, stop me if you're lost. First number is positive, there's no symbol there, so it's positive. Second number is negative, so I got a positive and a negative, those are different signs. Positive and negative, different signs. Take the absolute value of both. Absolute value of positive 7 is 7. Absolute value of negative 12 is 12. I get a big number and I get a small number. 12 is big, 7 is small. So I do big minus small, that's 12 minus 7. Let's see, 12 minus 7 is 5. We go back to the original problem. We have more negative coins or more positive coins. Well, there's way more negative coins. Therefore, the answer is negative. Last one. One's negative, one's positive. Different signs. Take the absolute value of both. Absolute value of negative 15 is 15. The absolute value of 13 is 13. Big minus small. Big minus small, that'd be 15 minus 13 is 2. We go back to the original problem and we say more negative coins or more positive coins. There are more negative coins. By the way, that's literally the answer. There's 2 more negative coins than there are positive coins. And so therefore the answer is negative 2. I think what typically happens with a lot of kids is after you do this for a while, you kind of internalize these rules. Some people will explain it slightly differently, right? They'll personalize it to their own brain, how their own brain works. But you now know both rules. You know the rules for addition addition of same signs, and you also know the rule for different signs. So the last thing I want to do is we're going to combine them both, right? So here's a mixture of both same signs and different signs. This is, if you can do all 6 of these, you got it. I mean, the only difference is I can make the numbers larger or smaller, right? All right. If you know what you're doing, go ahead and get started. If not, I'll walk you through each one. All right, upper left, the first one. We're adding. I know we're adding because there's a plus there. So I look to see which case we are in. Same or different signs. Both signs are negative. We are in same sign land. Same sign land means we take the absolute value of both numbers. Well, the absolute value of negative 2 is 2. The absolute value of negative 6 is 6. And this one says to add them together. 2 plus 6 is 8. We use the original sign. Originally, both numbers were negative. Therefore, the answer isn't 8, it's negative 8. All right, and you're supposed to stop me if you're lost. All right. Next one, underneath there, let's see, one sign is negative, one sign is positive. We're in different sign land. Cool thing is we still do the same thing. We take the absolute value of both, that would be 2 and 5. The absolute value of negative 2 is 2, the absolute value is 5 is 5. But this time we don't add, we subtract. Big minus small will be 5 minus 2. 5 is bigger than 2. 5 minus 2 is 3. We go back and we ask ourselves, did we have more negatives or did we have more positive? And it's kind of like that coin method, right? We got more positives than negatives, so therefore the answer is positive 3. Next one, different signs. negatives and positives. We take the absolute value of both. That would be 9 and a 5. For different signs, we subtract. 9 minus 5 is 4. We go back, we say more negatives or more positives. Negative 9, there's way more negative coins than there are positive coins. So the answer is negative 4. Upper right. Well, that's a plus and that's a minus. Those are different signs. Remember, if it's the far number on the left and it's positive, they don't put a plus. They just leave it blank. Notice that's different than the next one down where it's negative. All right, different sign. We're supposed to take the absolute value of both and subtract big minus small. 6 minus 4 is 2. We go back and we see more positives or more negatives. There are more negatives. For the answer is negative 2. Next one. Ooh, finally, same signs. They're both negative. Cool. When the signs are the same, you simply take the absolute value of both and add. Easy. 4 plus 10 is 14. But the original sign, we were originally adding negative numbers. So not 14, but negative 14.
Is this what we're doing tomorrow too?
Yes, we are. And Thursday. Believe it or not, what happens is that kids, you know, it only takes one day and you forget this. After 3 days of doing this, it will really stick with you. All right. Last one, look, they're both negative, so that same sign. Take the absolute value of both. We add them, that gives us 8. But they were both negative, so the answer is negative 8. Questions on anything we did? Now, how much of this in red do you actually do? Well, believe it or not, by Friday, none of it. When I ask you to add 3 plus 5, nobody writes anything down. They do it all in their head. So by Friday, our goal is we're doing, unless the numbers are really big, you know, like 221 plus negative 165, right? When the numbers are single digits or small double digits, you should be able to do this entire process in your head. And that's our goal, at least by Friday. Up until then, we might have to do a little bit of scratch work. But by Friday, we should be doing most of these when the numbers are small in our head. All right, I do want to point one thing out. When you see the worksheet tonight, all the examples I did today were using the notations like this first one here. That's this year's notation. Next year, they put this negative in the middle. The worksheet that you do, I'm going to get you used to using next year, because no one writes the negative right here on the upper left. It's just the first year, 7th grade, that they do that. But all years that follow, the negative is in the middle. So I'm going to get you guys used to seeing the negative in the middle. So tonight's worksheet, it's going to look like this second one right here. Any questions on that? Any questions on anything we did? All right, congratulations. You have now learned how to add positive and negative numbers. In other words, how to add integers. This is the first step of a very long journey that will take us through spring break and past spring break. So make sure you don't blow off the homework. Do the homework. Any questions? And we are out of time. All right. I will let you guys go. If you have any questions, send them to me in chat. If I'm not teaching, I'll give you an answer. You know, by 2:30, let's see, 2:40 when the class is over and we do student advisement, then I'll be more available to answer your chats in a more timely manner. But if there's no questions, I'll let you go and I'll end the video. All right. Have a wonderful day. See you guys tomorrow.